Hi all, welcome to today's session where we are going to talk about the interview questions on Scoop and Kafka. Scoop and Kafka are very important tools in big data technologies, or specifically the Hadoop stack, and it is very important to have their understanding. So if you have gone through the course content, the materials on Scoop and Kafka, then this particular video will give you good amount of benefit. So let's get started with the interview questions. The very first question is, this is about Scoop. About Kafka will come up later. In Scoop, we all know that it is a tool which is used to migrate data from any traditional RDBMS to the HDFS. Like you can transfer data from MySQL or Oracle to HDFS or HBase or Hive. Vice versa. You can do import as well as export. So importing is bringing data from RDBMS to HDFS, and export is moving data or copying data from HDFS to the RDBMS. So the very first question is, what will happen if target directory already exists during a Scoop import? So what happens is a Scoop runs map only job in the background, and just like any other map reduce job, if your output directory already exists, it will give you an error. And the same will happen in case of Scoop. If the target directory already exists, it will throw an exception that your destination already exists. So in this case, either supply a new directory location which does not exist, or remove the content, delete the entire directory which is present. The next question is, what is the use of warehouse directory in Scoop import? When you use warehouse directory, it will become the parent directory for the table destination. So if you specify the target directory, all the files will be stored in that location during a Scoop import. But if you specify a directory with a warehouse directory, a child directory will be created inside that particular warehouse directory. The name of the child directory will be according to the name of the table, and all the files will be stored inside that particular child directory. What is the default number of mappers in a Scoop job? It is 5. You can specify your own number of mappers, but if you do not, the default of 5 mappers will be taken. How you can bring data from RDBMS to Hive using a Scoop directly? So there is syntax or command of Hive import. You can specify Hive import, and along with other parameters like what is the JDBC connection URL, what is the username, password, which table you want to bring from RDBMS. You also need to specify target directory as well. So what happens in a Scoop is, if your Hive table does not exist, it will be created. So it happens in 2 phases. The first phase will bring data from RDBMS to HDFS location specified using target directory, and in the next step, the content of that particular target directory will be loaded into the Hive table. So all these things will take place internally by Scoop. We need not to bother about that. The next question is, we wish to bring data in CSV format, that is comma separated values, in HDFS from any RDBMS source. The columns in the RDBMS table contains comma. How to distinctly import data in this case? This is really interesting case. Like if your output data needs to have comma as a delimiter, and if one of the field contains comma, how to do that? You can use optionally enclosed by. Like whenever you give the delimiter, if the delimiter is present inside the field, that entire value will be enclosed inside uh, some some symbol which you specify. Like if you specify double quotes, then your content which contains comma will be enclosed inside double quotes. How can we import data directly to HBase using Scoop? Scoop has a support to bring data directly to HBase from any RDBMS. You have to specify the table name as the argument to HBase table. Then every row of the input table will be transformed into a put operation. That is, they will be inserted one by one into the target output table, which is the HBase table. You can manually specify the row key column, like which column of the RDBMS will act like a row key for HBase using HBase row key. And every output column will be placed in the same column family, which must be specified with column family parameter. Like whatever column family you specify, all the columns will go inside that column family. And if the target table and column family do not exist, Scoop will exit. So your target table and column family must exist. But if you specify HBase create table, HBase will then Scoop will then create the table and column family if they do not exist using the default parameters, and those parameters will be taken from your HBase configuration. The next question on Scoop is, what is incremental load? Incremental load comes in two flavors. As the name says, it's an incremental load operation, which means suppose you have a table in RDBMS which keeps on getting increased in volume. That is, new records are getting added. So if you can keep a track like what was the last maximum value which was imported, then the next time you will be able to import values higher than the last imported value. This is the incremental append mode. And in some cases, if records of your RDBMS keep on changing, you can track the behavior inside last modified timestamp, like what is the column which will get updated if the table record gets changed. And then you can also bring that last modified records as well. So there are two modes in which Scoop operates in incremental load. One is the append only, and one is the append, and one is the last modified. With append argument, you have to give the name of the column which has to be checked, that is check column, and you can specify the last value which was already imported. If you want this last value to get updated automatically at the Scoop end, you can specify these things with a Scoop job. So that is the next question, like what is the benefit of using a Scoop job? So whenever you do incremental append or say incremental last incremental last modified, you need not to bother about what was the last value. This thing will be captured inside the Scoop job in its own meta store. Every time the Scoop job runs, it will keep a track of what is the last maximum value imported, whether it be a timestamp value or integer value, and in the next run it will fetch the values higher than the last imported value. So it makes a very efficient solution to the incremental import, and these things can be automated as well. Where does the Scoop job stores the last imported value? As we discussed, it has its own meta store where it stores the data, and you can also provide a specific JDBC connection by using meta connect and then the JDBC URI. So this was all about Scoop. Let us come to Kafka. The very first question can be, what exactly is Kafka? So Kafka is a publish subscribe messaging framework where there is a publisher or producer which produces data. There is a consumer which captures the data, consumes the data for processing, and Kafka acts like a broker in between. It takes data from producer, supplies to consumer. What are the use cases? Why is it used? You may be asked certain questions. So basically, you can have multiple producers, you can have multiple consumers. Instead of making a direct connection between producer and consumer, you can keep all data in Kafka. This will give you a very loose coupling between the producer and consumer. You can keep on adding consumers, you can keep on adding producers without much of a trouble. The monitoring becomes very easy, making direct connection is very clumsy, and different consumers can operate or consume data at different pace, at different rates as well. So it makes life very easy when dealing with these complex structures. And then you can, if you have consumers which can consume in real time, they can consume in batch processing. So that is the flexibility on the consumer end. The advantage of Kafka is it is distributed and partitioned as well as replicated. By distributed, we mean it works on commodity machines, horizontally scaled out. All the data is not on one machine, rather it is partitioned. Since it contains key value pair, data has got some key and value. So different key value can go to different machines. In order to increase the availability, you can replicate the data as well. One interesting question is, Flume is also a log aggregator. It also takes data from multiple sources. So how Kafka is different from Flume? So there are a couple of differences. One is Kafka is a publish subscribe messaging system. Where there is a producer, there is a consumer, and Kafka contains data intermediate in between. But Flume is a system for data collection, aggregation, and movement. Flume also has concept of source and sink, which is the producer and consumer, but it doesn't work in a publish subscribe model. It has got a different use case as compared to Kafka. What are the elements of Kafka? Kafka has got topic, producer, consumer, and brokers as its important elements. Topic is a kind of table in RDBMS. It is a bunch of messages of similar kinds. Producer is the entity which sends data to the topic. Consumer receives data from a topic. And brokers are the place where the messages or the intermediate data are placed. In Kafka, what is the role of Zookeeper? So Zookeeper has got a responsibility to build the coordination between the different nodes of the Kafka cluster. Moreover, it also stores like which client or which consumer has read or consumed data till what point. So it is also responsible to periodically commit the offset. The other uses of Zookeeper is to elect which is the leader in case there is replication, which is the leader node, which is the follower, and also perform synchronization between the nodes. So Zookeeper is there for distributed coordination. How to send message asynchronously using Kafka? Kafka supports 3 ways of sending a message. So from a producer, you can perform a fire and forget. That is, you send a record. You don't wait for the acknowledgement. But if you use producer.send and send some record and you apply the method .get, then you send a record and you wait for the acknowledgement, whether the record was successfully sent to the broker or not. That is a synchronous sending. That is, you send a message and wait for acknowledgement. Once complete, then you send the next message. So the throughput is higher in fire and forget, and reliability is higher in synchronous sending. Coming to asynchronous sending, you have to implement a callback interface and override the on completion method. So whatever class implements the callback interface can be used in the send method. In the asynchronous sending, you send a particular record, you don't wait for the acknowledgement, and you send the another record, and this way you keep on sending the records. You will get the acknowledgement at a later point of time, may not be immediately, maybe after you have sent some number of messages you will receive a callback method, like what happened to the previous message, the message you have sent long back or some time back. So you don't wait for the acknowledgement, you keep on sending the messages and you will receive acknowledgement later on. So these are the three modes of sending the message using Kafka Producer. At the consumer end, how can we control the offset of a consumer? So one way to control the offset is to automatically commit. By default, if the enable.auto.commit is set to true, after every 5 seconds, the consumer will commit the largest offset it has received from the poll method. So whatever is the largest value of offset received from the poll method, that will be committed after every 5 seconds. You can also manually commit by using commit sync method, or you can perform asynchronous commit using commit async method. So these are the different ways with which you can control the offset. Offset specifies that till what point of time or till what portion you have read the data from a topic. Well, so that was all about Scoop and Kafka. I hope it will help you in preparation of your interview questions. So keep watching our other videos on ACAD Guild for further concepts. Thank you.